Finance stand part of the schedule.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable David Parker.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I rise to take a call to talk on the estimates, the vote finance and related items. Mr. Speaker, this was reviewed by the Finance and Expenditure Committee, and one of the things that some members of the committee noted was that inequality in New Zealand is increasing. And many New Zealanders are not benefiting from the growing economy, and it was noted that some measures indicate that 46% of workers have had no pay rise in the past year. Mr. Speaker, it's against that background that we need to judge whether the proposals that are brought forward through Vote Finance for the country are right, and I would like to contrast them with some of the proposals that the Labour opposition is making. Mr. Speaker, last week we proposed our alternative budget. That alternative budget's gone down pretty well. There's a few headline messages there. First of all, everything's paid for and we're in surplus. So we can get down to a debate. We can get down to a 10th surplus. That's right. It'll be the 10th surplus in a row for Labour governments, given that in the last Labour government we ran 9 surpluses in a row and reduced gross government debt from 38 to 18% of GDP and net debt down to zero. Net debt down to zero, Mr. Speaker. It is clear that whether it is Labour in charge of the Treasury benches or National, you're unlikely to have a fiscally irresponsible government in New Zealand. Indeed.
I don't know about that.
Well, the Minister says from the Chair he doesn't know about that. But the truth of it is that we actually haven't had a fiscally irresponsible government since National's Muldoon in the 1980s left New Zealand with amongst the highest government debt in the world that took subsequent governments, be they National or Labour, a generation to pay off. Mr. Speaker, so we know the ills of unbalanced budgets. This government hasn't yet run a surplus. It's true that some of those deficits were a consequence of a global recession, which affected New Zealand also, and the cost of the Canterbury rebuild. That's why we don't whack them around the ears too much about the deficits that they have run. But we do note it's time to get back to surplus, and we would too. Our numbers show how it would be done. The commentators who have been through those numbers, produced not 3 weeks before an election but 3 months before an election, have given them the tick. They say, clean bill of health here. It's obviously clear that you're not going to be fiscally irresponsible, that you're going to run budget surpluses and that you're going to pay down debt. Mr. Speaker, in a fair society, everyone should get their fair share and everyone should pay their fair share. One of the provisions that we've got in this budget is to shift the economy away from speculative activity towards the productive economy. There is no doubt that one of the reasons that we overinvest in property-based assets in New Zealand is the tax system encourages it. Just about everyone now accepts that, except for the government. The OECD say it, the IMF say it, the Treasury say it, the Reserve Bank say it, the Labour Party says it, the Greens say it. Just about every other country and developed country in the world say it. We need to have people investing in productive parts of our economy, not chasing tax advantages in the speculative economy. And that's why, if there's one policy that should be looked at really carefully this coming election, and I think the people of New Zealand are up for it, it's actually the question of whether we should change our tax system and tax capital gains, excluding the family home. How is this relevant, Mr. Speaker? You could take a call, and you could see one of the issues that's raised in the financial review by the Finance and Expenditure Committee is that the absence of a capital gains tax means that we've got an economy that's out of shape, that invests too much in the speculative sector, not enough in the productive sector. We've got higher house prices as a consequence of the investors in rental housing piling in, particularly in Auckland, where home ownership rates are the lowest that they've been in 50 years and still dropping. Mr. Speaker, our alternative budget makes it clear that we're fiscally responsible, that we're not going to be writing cheques that we can't cash. Mr. Speaker, that we will be back into... You know, the National Party have racked up $60 billion of debt, just about. $60 billion of debt. They made it worse through tax cuts, 40% of which their income tax cuts went to the top 10%. They quote tax figures excluding the burden of GST, Mr Speaker.
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable
Mr. Speaker, I think you've
Jonathan
actually,
Collins.
Mr. Speaker, I think you've seen with that speech the problem that Labor has. They've got a finance spokesman there, someone who wants to be the Minister of Finance, who cannot finish a speech on time, cannot articulate it.